We did it. My knee still hurts. It was only a day ago. This went flying. It actually is the correct part for that. It's just normally sitting inside of a transmission. And so the input shaft goes on one side and then the starter goes on the other side. Now this is supposed to have bearings, obviously, on these smooth surfaces and oil and all that. Well, we don't have the transmission hooked up because we've got tons of tubing to do. But I went to McFadden and I felt like there would be something exactly for what we need. And sure enough, there is. It's got the slightest bit of play, which is okay, but it's got set screws. As soon as the engine fires up, this is going to spin the RPM of the engine. I wanted something heavy duty that won't let it back out and throw itself. We can just bolt it down, but that allows us to idle the car with that going. And then the other major issue I've been having is this is what drives the fuel pump. It's really wild because you can tell they formed it kind of like a Damascus steel, except they didn't get that far. So I went and got 5mm keyway steel. Just a little bit of trimming, but that's exactly what would be driving this. Now, a couple key issues we have right now. No clue which way the fuel pump spins. So that one's spinning by itself scares me, but what we need to do is turn like this engine over. There's a gear in here and another gear and then the chain. And so I think it spins the opposite of the engine. That way we know when we pull the fuel pump out which way fluid flows, and then we can scribe on it, hey, in and out. Going through the pack rat stuff that I've done, found all the parts that I'm looking for. The moment the camera just turned off, Joel said something very rude to me. He said, no, you didn't. And so I will correct that. I found some of the parts that I was looking for, including this. And I, honest to God, I was like, this one's meant for my car. I put an O-ring here because it looked like that's an O-ring spot. And this has got to be a pickup, right? And then I found this in a different box, and that's a fuel filter. And then I was like, oh yeah, this basically dangles off of a hose, which is kind of cool because if the fuel's all turning here because you're pulling 3 Gs, the pickup goes with it. So it's in a smaller confined space, kind of like a surge tank. But if the fuel goes over here, you want the pickup to go over here. And smart enough, the pickup is at the bottom of this. Some of the other things that we're working on, I have these elbows, and they're actually probably the ones meant for this car. But then you see this thing here, they've changed the engine over time, and then you get this cover that goes on the back that does not have that hole. But that puts us at another weird situation because you can see these flanges are different sizes. These flanges are actually, funny enough, the same size as the TurboSmart 50mm straight gate. It's gonna be about 2 weeks before we get the part to hold the turbo here. But this piece plus this piece means that we're missing something that then goes divided into the turbo housing. If we do clamp these on, look, I can put oxygen sensors on the car. It's just like the 4Runner. I'm getting excited to try things. So I have my custom spatula that thankfully came with buying all the engines, and I'm gonna rotate the engine. So we're going from 1 to 5, and what I want you guys to see is my little flag I put on the oil fuel pump, and we'll see if it spins the same way or the opposite way. Yeah, so I'm going this way, it's going that way. So we know to spin it that way with the drill, with the existing key. So we'll pull the pump out of the tank because we have to hook up the lines to it anyway, so we don't have to have an external fuel pump when we go to fire this thing up. With them separated, you can see here that this eats up quite a bit of that piece, leaving only a little bit exposed from here. Now I know that this is not touching the motor, so we go over to the motor side, we'll do the same thing. This ends up being 65, and I come up a little short. So we're gonna cut this one to 65, and probably that little bit of extra change, and then I might have to like slightly deburr these. It's only going that far, when this one, which looks identical, goes that far. So I'll just take off a little bit until I get to that, but we'll see. I'm super curious how this is gonna work. Let's lop this off quick. We're gonna have to take off this panel and start making lines. Just to share with you guys a different style pump I've not seen before. I noticed this bolt hole had that meat there, and this one's much closer to that. There's an ovalness to it, and sure enough, it picks up fluid as it spins around here because these move out, because it lets them move out. And then once they get pushed in, they squeeze it just like that. They push it in. Over here gets tons of vacuum because it's closer to the bolt nut holes. And then it squeezes it into the center area here. So this is an inlet and this is an outlet. So this is actually the fuel pump for the IndyCar, running a 900 horsepower methanol. It's kind of crazy. That section I now feel confident working with. But the other one that kicked my ass is this one right here. These two are ins. They both go to the same channel here. It squeezes them into this middle area, which I thought just sprayed it in the tank. It actually goes into this fitting here. Long story short, there's a lot of different variations of these cars, and these two pick up from the corners of the tank and dump it into this one. On the 99 versions of the cars, which this pump was on, there was a little pouch, basically another layer of a surge tank. And so the 97s didn't have that, so this just sprays out. So I can reassemble this. I'm gonna etch those because I'm gonna forget. And our last issue is that these need to be 6AN outs, and I highly doubt when you see a washer like that, that is an ORB. I got 3/8 BSP, which is 19 threads per inch and some weird ass size, to 6AN. So these are now inlets from corners of the tank. This is the filter pickup. This is the filter out. And this is actually when these two are pulling fuel from other areas, this just sprays into this little baggie of the tank. To get you guys up to speed, we cut that one off to get the engine started. I just cut this one off. I took a stone with sandpaper and flattened them. So that way when I go to weld them, the surface is nice and consistent all the way around. And so you can see I just laid my very first tack in, which is what called Joel out. And I scratched and cleaned up, acetoned, and brushed off all the aluminum oxide off of both surfaces, so that way this weld would be clean. All the sizing is pretty much correct. You can see that little base under there.
So you decided to go with ANs?
Yeah, so what I realized is that if I extend these out, I have to do coupling, and it has to be exact, and if it vibrates, it breaks. That's not what I signed up for. And since these had clamps here to begin with, I made sure that the AN fitting would fit within this area of the engine bay. So on this one, it'll probably be like a 45 coming off, and this one will probably be like a 30. With my little creation welded together, we took apart from the 4-rotor, which is a 16 to 12, just so we can loop these two lines together a little bit safer for the moment. But I was like trying to get the engine to plug into the car to see if these would fit, because maybe this is too far. And I realized, oh, well, just take it off and fit it in there this way. Thankfully, the chassis and this are meant to be together. That's a really good sign right there for this. I thought I was going to have to cut this one off, but the fitting is not touching. This is a 45, so the 45 can come out at that clean angle. I'd almost want it to come out at a 30-degree angle in the future, but I'll take what I can get. And this one, it'll be at the 16 coming out sooner, but even then, look at that, that's pretty damn clean. The cooler, though, is over here. I would like to ideally have these not at these angles. I 100% get why they did the Van Gen style, because it's much more rigid, but that requires perfection. Loop the hose through there. You know what that means? We can fire this damn thing up and let it idle. This is actually a huge moment for us, because the fuel system is hooked up as it should. The oil system now has proper lines, so this line won't fall off. We don't have any fuel in the tank yet, so that's step one, is filling the tank up and then probably spinning it over a lot to try and get that fuel to go through the system. So we'll unplug this. We also added these little elbows and an oxygen sensor in hopes of running it long enough to get some data about how much oxygen and fuel is being combusted. But current data suggests that amount of fuel needed to rev this thing on ethanol with just the primary injectors working is enough to go up to about 15,000 RPM. Obviously that's stupid to do immediately, but we'll give it 30 seconds. The only issue I have is that the two ways of telling whether or not this engine needs more fuel, this being the third way, but the two main ways are pressure and throttle position. What's weird is the throttle position sensor, so it's not updating, right? But as soon as I go past 50% throttle opening, you start seeing it doing numbers, and then look at, that's 100% there. That's like 70% like of the movement. It's supposed to be reading all the way from the start to the end, so kind of annoying that we don't have that one. And then my boost pressure isn't showing vacuum. It doesn't know to give engine more fuel if I don't have throttle position working properly, nor manifold vacuum, and at least we have RPM, I guess. But we'll hopefully have the oxygen sensor working, and I will straight up turn on the self-tuning for Haltech at like no temperature, so it does it immediately, just to make sure that we can see what we're doing. But let's start with fuel, get that primed. We don't exactly have the correct fueling equipment, so we're just gonna wedge this, and it's not that I want to use the funnel as a funnel, it's that I want to use the funnel as a wedge. Yeah, that's officially the first. Joel's just jealous of my zip tie work. This is why we're using this one to learn on, but
The shaft is bent.
yeah, I'm gonna take it over to the welding table and straighten it out. That's about as good as I can get it. I'm gonna be chasing perfection, so that works. That's about the smoothest any of that's ever been.
Yeah.
Holy shit. That was like so uneventful. Unplug this, and then disable injectors. Then we can just watch everything. Since we're not seeing oil pressure, I want to see oil flow. And so we're gonna leave this open like this, and we should see oil pouring out of here if the engine is producing oil pressure and the sensor's bad. So that's kind of the current question. So with this engine firing up, we're learning a lot, and I'm not trying to blow up my engine, but I am also trying to learn what myths are true and what are not. One myth that is absolutely busted: these engines are so tightly built that you can't turn them over when it's room temperature. That is a lie. Has always been a lie. While this might be an IndyCar engine, it shares a lot of the same DNA as the iconic Cosworth F1 engine. Neither of them are that bound up. They are tight, but they're not that tight. Where that myth stems from is the fact that you do want to preheat the oil. You're using these very small drives. It's weight, so make it as small as possible. And how do you make them smaller? Have them moving thinner oil. The oil gets thinner, viscosity-wise, when it's hot. It's simply a weight savings, so heat up the oil externally. Even though I use thinner oil, I think that fire up snapped the little hex drive, and the hex drive is like slightly bigger than this, driving an oil pump. And so that's our current theory. So we're gonna take this cover off so then we can pull this whole stack off and see if we sheared that pin. Good catch. Good fucking catch. I lost it. First step is to make sure that this gear, oh, there we go. There's the problem.
Wow.
Okay, so we don't have to get too much, see like that. This one tied to the engine, this one doing its own thing.
It's not moving the gears behind it. Do it again.
Oh, look. What dumb fuck built this engine? That's a bonehead move right there. That's spinning?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So we didn't snap anything. That is too funny. Okay. That explains some extra bolts I had left over. In my defense, I'm not missing exactly that. It must be these two. And then I used them elsewhere on the engine trying to rebuild it where there were bolts missing. I'm a dumbass. It's just I'm trying to find every reason why, but I was expecting each of these pockets to have like a, oh, that's what these are for. I should stick to not building engines. So something really interesting is that it had oil pressure when there was very little oil in there. So it must have been a point where it was stuck to it and then broke free as soon as oil lubricated, because I had oil coming out of this line here. So the oil was pumping, which gave me false hope that everything else was fine. So we did have oil going through the system until I think we actually went to have serious amounts of oil going through the system. That's crazy. It's all connected.
It does the thing.
It does what it's supposed to do. That's weird. This reminds me of that meme where it's like, hey, step one, get your $300,000 CNC machine and do what I'm doing. Step one for fixing this is get the other spare engine parts that you have and swap them out. It's leaking from right here. Instead of pulling this off and trying to screw up the bearings, we're just gonna swap them for now, but this will at least help us seal the engine. It leaked 1 whole quart over the entire night. I didn't even think about it until a couple moments ago, is that I can test the fuel system now. The engine. Oh. You can see it's working. I primed it a second ago. It took a couple spins and then it started puking, so we don't have to turn the engine over more and more and more to get fuel primed in there. That's great. And then also, I taped the tank heaters on. My goal is fuel pressure, oil pressure, and then let the engine dictate the rest of the evening. So let's see if we get both of those first. We have 4 psi our fuel pressure. We might be running out of fuel. It's leaking.
Oh yeah, we left that loose.
That's a good sign. That's a really good sign. Time to plug things back in. Our goal right now is for me not to keep this plugged in when it fires up. Okay, so I just remember to pull it back once. Let's see. Oh, that's scary. It's not gonna come out of that thing. That's not good. That pulls the whole input shaft. And it's gonna throw that ring again. Well, this is kind of a party stopper. I do not feel safe using that $50 bearing. I just know. And so as much of a good thing as that was, we get to run the transmission. Now the problem is, the transmission doesn't have any fluid in it. But it won't pull out like that. This is the first time we've even seen the operating engine inside of here. I can see the writings on the wall that they're close, but they need to bend more. I swapped this plate out so it doesn't have that carbon thing here. And Finn's little 3D printed aluminum thing for holding the turbo will be right there. And that's a whole ass car. That was the car running. It's so nuts that we're making this work. It's idling, and I thought it shut off randomly. Finn saw me struggling. I couldn't pull out. My pull-out game was the weakest ever. I was like locked in there like a duck, corkscrew penis and all. This thing has the gearing to where if it goes backwards, see how I can do that? It's not fucking the motor up. We'll leave it on there because it's idling at the same speed for the moment, and then I'm gonna go over to the throttle and see if I can get some data on giving some baby revs.
I feel like if you gave it a rev there, it would have stayed up.
Exactly, I can't reach
Yeah.
it. We realized that we need some air. And so at least I can hit the throttle from back here. That's the first baby rev. What RPM do you think that was? I have no clue.
I'm gonna say 32. What do you say, Finn?
4,000.
Right between both of you guys at 36.
O2 did not come online. It wasn't long enough. Oil pressure came up to 40 psi. That's great. Fuel pressure was still only 2 psi.
That was the very first taste of the rotary starting to, rotary, Jesus. The fumes are getting to me. That's the very first taste of the IndyCar revving. Everything's working. Fuel pressure came online. We just need the oxygen sensor to come online to really fine tune this. It says not calibrated. It was fucking calibrated. So in a moment, this sensor, yeah, there we go. It's starting to light up. Can you see that red? It's calibrating. So that way we can read. We're just gonna keep bringing the car up to temp and see what it tells us it wants. I've got data. It was going lean. My ears are ringing a little bit, but that is so sick. And that's like just a quarter of how high this thing revs. This valve can close because we don't have the circuitry for it yet. I'm not doing this to damage it. I'm just doing it to hold it. There, that's better than it was.
Yes, that is an IndyCar. No fucking way.
I just want to point out that was only 7,200 RPM. That is literally just almost half of how high this engine will make a lot of power. I realized it was 7,000 RPM, but that's because that's like the default RPM limit on a Haltech is about 7,000 RPM, so I didn't change that. I didn't expect to have to say, hey, limit at 15,000 RPM. So what you heard with the ECU preventing it from going any higher, I'm gonna go ahead and remove that limit right now.
Holy shit. Oh, that went from, oh, it's reasonable to now my ears are ringing. Oh my God, that was incredible.
What did it hit?
Let's find out. Oh my God, that gave me chills. Like, I had to take that straight to the face.
I was about to run to you and pull your ears.
13,000 RPM.
Whoa.
And it's got another 2,000 to go. Oh, my heart's racing from how that felt. I feel very alive right now. Oh, I'm glad we turned the rev limiter off.
Technically the video ends right there and I didn't have any outro filmed other than the fact that you guys have been awesome with buying the shirts and you know exactly where the proceeds from these go to, more RPM. It's so sick to know all these part numbers and know what they are, how they translate to this, and then to see the car finally becoming one piece of machinery. I got all the engines in the shop now. It's kind of a little sneak peek, but it is time to make 15,000 RPM of magic, and I'm very thankful for all the support you guys have given for the last, what, 15 years? I can't thank you enough.